Now, Power do love to throw us a curveball from time to time, and boy did they throw us a few big ones. Back in the day, according to Burke, Rock was Detective Howard's CI, and the clues are actually there from season 1, which is something I will get to later on in this breakdown. But there were some revelations of Rock's history. It was about time she learned she fucked up, and this looks at it all when Howard told her about Scrappy. But the theme of this episode was centered around relationships and business. There were some relationships which are broken beyond repair, some trying to mend relationships and others forming new ones. Now, when it comes to business, when business is growing and cash is flowing, that means everybody wants a piece, which is something we can say for both Rock and Cartier, but also Marco doing work away from his father's influence. But we all know what happens in this game. Nothing ever lasts or goes to plan. Whether it's actually love or business relationships, there are always outside influences or mistakes that are made that will eventually break them. But no doubt, arguably the biggest talking point beside Burke finding out that Rock was Howard's CI when she was 16 was Marvin's plan to kill Tony, which didn't go as planned because Marco was killed by Dominic. And this is going to cause a huge ripple effect across the game, because not only is Marco Sal Baselli's son, but Dominic is alive, and I smell an opportunity for Unique. He's someone who could very well capitalize from this situation, because he's someone who's been playing the long game, and he knows him and Morel are out in Jersey, only until Rock knows what she wants to do with them. And so I smell Unique using this to his advantage. But we're gonna run through all things episode 7 in this breakdown, bringing in the plots and storylines from season 1. Now, this is something that actually takes us back all the way to season 2, episode 1. Jukebox standing over Nicole's grave, being upset and basically feeling lost in this world. And she actually wanted to tell James that the drugs that killed her daughter were taken from her bag, but this would have only made things worse. And in contrast to Linda, he was just happy that Nicole found love. And so where he said he'll be there if she ever needs anything, Duke actually repaired the tape and left it on his doorstep.
Man, I'm never gonna get tired of watching this. You're gonna be like a big singer. You know, like fucking world famous.
So this was a tape of Duke and Nicole from season 1, but maybe Duke's realized she needs to move on, and maybe hearing about Leviticus 18 pushed her into Corey's direction. Now, Leviticus 18 contains a list of forbidden bedroom activities, and so I think we all know where this is heading. Duke may be giving Corey a chance, but I can see a scenario where this goes horribly wrong, and where Kenya finds out Duke is actually into girls and doesn't really accept it, because we're yet to see the scene of Kenya slapping Marvin. But Marvin did warn Duke in episode 7, even though he's fucked up, he's always been there and he's tried, whereas Kenya's left and she's gonna leave once again, which is something I can definitely see happening. But where we talk about forbidden acts, do not have sexual relationships with both a woman and her daughter, and so we come to Kanan and Palomar, and this was something I think we were all expecting, but maybe not in the manner in how it played out. Now, Kanan opened his bag to not only find the gun that belongs to Palomar, but also the paternity results that Detective Howard gave him in episode 6, and he's yet to open them, but we're gonna come back around to that later on. But Corinne finding Kanan and her mom in bed definitely wasn't normal, and so we saw Corinne telling Rock. Now, when it comes to Rock and Kanan's relationship, we all know it's been distant in season 2, and so the last thing she wants is for Kanan to be in bed with Palomar, who's pulling him further away. So I think we may see Rock paying Palomar a visit in episode 8. And sticking with Kanan, we saw the return in Symphony, but only to tell Kanan he was moving to North Carolina for a new job. But lurking in the corner is, of course, Detective Burke, who really is giving me serious Greg Knox kind of vibes. Greg Knox was someone who is obsessed with Angela and Ghost, and Burke has the same obsession with Kanan, Howard, and now also Rock. So we saw Burke stop Symphony and question him about the night Howard was shot and how he knows Kanan Stark. But if we've learned one thing about Symphony, he's no pushover, even when it does come to cops. We've learned that in season 1 when he came to collect Kanan at the precinct, and he did the same with Burke. The only information that he gave her was Kanan was in his after school class, and then we saw Symphony tell Rock, and also how he was heading to North Carolina, but her secrets were safe, and that's something we're gonna come back to in just a moment. But following Burke, she was doing this officer a favor with his nephew being arrested, and so she was getting one in return, which was access to Howard's file during the period he was undercover, which was between 1974 and 76. Now, the information she was looking at specified his informants, but only the gender and age. Now, the names of course were confidential, but what was confirmed was Howard had a female CI aged 17 back in the 70s, but looking on was another officer. But Burke put the pieces up together that Rock was his CI who was 16. But we all know from season 1, Rock told Howard she was 17.
This from the undercover who pushed up on me when I was 16 years old.
Shit. You said you were 17.
So Burke really is piecing everything together, but at the same time being repeatedly told to leave this shit alone, which of course we all know she won't. She's obsessed, and we all know what happens in Power. Now, we had Howard doing his own work on Detective Burke, as well as finding out Scrappy's mom was actually Detective Peng's real CI. So along with Howard and Rock talking about how Burke and Symphony are trouble, he told her how Scrappy wasn't the snitch after all. And I don't blame Howard, what he said was true. Everybody's lying in the streets, and she should have known not to take the word of a cop, especially one she tried to kill, which does remind me of how Ghost still had trust in Kanan, even though he put him behind bars. Rock still seems to have the same trust in Howard, even though she tried to get rid of him. But what is she gonna do when Kanan sees through all of her lies and mistakes? I think we all know Kanan's about to turn. But was it a mistake not pulling the trigger on Symphony? You can't leave any loose ends in this game, and this is a loose end from Rock, even though he has been nothing but loyal. But she couldn't bring herself to pull the trigger, and maybe being wrong about Scrappy put a seed of doubt into her mind. But elsewhere, we saw classic Rock. This is what she does. She saw an opportunity with Tremont, and she used Cartier to cause a wedge between him and his distro. And later we saw Rock approach him to come and work for her. But he's working his own angle. So as always in this game, he can't be trusted, because it does seem like he's trying to get to the connect, which takes Rock out the equation. But what about this change in Juliana? This was a complete contrast to what we've seen before. No doubt she told Joaquin she was kidnapped by Unique, but she was more so disappointed with Rock working with the man who held her hostage. In season 1, Juliana was impressed with the way Rock dealt with men, but not so much in season 2. And it does seem like Juliana's taken a turn after she was taken by Unique, but also gains this level of confidence sitting next to Joaquin. But elsewhere with Rock, she's moving forward with a house purchase, but she does have an issue. She needs to show a legit source of income, which she doesn't have. But one thing she said she has is the record label. So that brings me on to Lou. Now, there does seem to be a bit of tug of war when it comes to the record label. Everybody's trying to muscle and power to pull it in their direction, but who's gonna be the ultimate winner? So as Lou thought he finally got rid of Crown, in comes the 50k debt that Crown owed Linton Manley, and he put the label up as collateral, and this is when Lou thought, fucking Crown. So we saw how Lou took a stash from the projects, which will definitely put him at odds with Rock, because not only is he fucking with the books, she warned him, family business comes first. But before Lou could pay the debt, in come the same boys that came in to the label, giving Lou a real beatdown, and now who does he turn to? Cartier, who now owns 25% of Bulletproof Records. But Rock will have other ideas with the label, because she did say this in season 1.
Your shit is my shit. For example, your recording studio. Yes, my recording studio.
So ironically, when Lou got rid of Crown, this just opened up a whole new can of worms in terms of his legit business. And there's also the game, which keeps calling him back. So what's it gonna take for him to fully commit to one or the other? Now, Marvin's a character who has shown us quite a few layers in season 2, but ironically going back to one of his worst in season 1, because this was always going to go sideways. Marvin met Marco and wanted him to get rid of a snitch, Tony, and earlier in the season it was revealed she was engaged to a dentist, Darren Rose, someone who happened to be caught in the crossfire, but not how Marvin and Marco intended. But before we get to the assassination that ended in Marco's death, as well as Tony's, Marco asked Unique, can Marvin be trusted? And this is key, because Unique now knows Marvin and Marco's plan, something he can later use to his advantage. And in the game, leverage is something you can get to get power. So let's see what Unique's next move is. Now, Marco wasn't going in on his own. He brought in one of Raising Kanan's most disliked characters, Dominic. So after Marco dealt with Tony with a straight headshot, he got into a tussle with a doctor who shot and wounded Dominic after he shot Marco, and now Dominic is a huge problem, but is a death I see coming in episode 8, at least one way or another. Now Rock won't be too pleased with Marvin, because not only will this cause a problem with Sal, who she just struck a deal with, but Unique's waiting in the back to pounce, and if he just masters the art of timing, he can take Rock's whole organization from beneath her. So dark clouds are definitely on the horizon for Rock. But that's a breakdown of episode 7, and arguably two of the biggest talking points comes with Burke putting the pieces of the puzzle together that Rock was Howard's CI, and Marco being killed through Marvin's plan, which will no doubt have consequences with the Italians, and I wouldn't be surprised if Unique took advantage as well. But drop all your thoughts down below on all things episode 7, and of course if you are new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 3 and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.